Most Nigerians are well aware that the agricultural sector has historically been neglected in favor of petroleum. A poorly performing agricultural sector limits the domestic supply of food, directly affecting its availability and affordability. As a major employer of labor, low productivity in Nigerian agriculture also implies low incomes, high poverty rates, and limited purchasing power. The reasons for low agricultural productivity are fairly well known, experts believe. They say limited availability and high cost of good quality inputs such as fertilizer, seed, chemicals and medicines for livestock, poor support infrastructure, weak extension services, underdeveloped rural input, output and financial markets, substandard road networks, numerous unsuccessful policies and programs. All of these factors result in troublingly low yields of staple crops. Despite numerous strategies to increase rice production and favorable rice ecologies, average rice yields in Nigeria are between 1 and 2.5 tons per hectare against potential yields of 5 to 6 tons per hectare. Though a major maize-producing African country, maize yields in Nigeria are less than 2 tons per hectare on average compared to greater than 9 tons per hectare attained in the United States. This low productivity results in extensive and persistent food insecurity and poverty in the country. Some studies have shown up to 70% of Nigerians as food insecure. Given the current challenges to agricultural production in Nigeria, climate change is expected to make the situation even worse. Both higher temperatures and shifting rainfall regimes will lower crop yields compared to what they could be under a stable climate.
We talk about the climate element, that is the temperature, that is the precipitation. So as the climate changes in locations, you have those triggers. Unfortunately, you may have less rains, more rains, fluctuating, you understand. So it's always good for you to work with the predictions. The predictions are based on a record history of a long history of record, and that is being imputed into a model, and then you come out with the predictions. So once those predictions are out there, and by all means, as you people can testify to that, we always look at the efficacy of the SRP, that is the predictions. We find that our predictions are close to being effective. In that respect, people should take it seriously. One is that we need to also have dissemination channels. People should get more people should get into it. They should understand what it means so that they can use it. And once you use it, I'm so sure if you do it this year, next year you have the reason to continue doing it. So we need the attention of the ADPs, that is Agricultural Development Agencies. We need the assistance of the Ministry of Agriculture, you understand, so that they assist in disseminating this information.
While scientists aren't sure exactly how rainfall patterns in West Africa will change over the next century, the region will definitely be hotter with negative consequences for staple crop production. Climate change can also exacerbate pest and disease outbreaks.
Challenges are there, you see. One is for people to accept. Sometimes people don't accept that this is for true, this is for sure. But from what we've gone through, you've seen the facts are showing that yes, things are happening. People should believe. If you don't believe in it, you cannot change. Advanced countries are using this one. No one will go onto the farm without weather information. Somebody will not even walk out of his house without weather information. Do you need to carry an umbrella when you're going out? You know, what routes do you go, maybe to avoid probably flooding? Those are things that we are looking forward to reaching. So our people should look at that. It is a social responsibility. It makes people, you see, that is what they call early warning. You forewarn, even when you are in your bed, before you come out, you know what you should expect. At least, and it works almost perfectly okay.
Sea level rise, heavier rainfall and extreme heat can also take a toll on already stressed and inadequate infrastructure, which is needed to grow, harvest, store, and transport crops. Heavy rains and storm surges in coastal areas can wash out bridges and roads. Droughts can deplete reservoirs needed to irrigate crops. Under higher temperatures, fruits, vegetables, and animal products spoil more rapidly.
We can go on to downscaling for particular locations, for particular states, even local governments, we can downscale. And further, we can even go into the crop modeling. You understand? You give the models to the kind of crops people are planting in their own locations. We can give advisories on that as well. So I think if we partner with these agencies, there is going to be a great change in the agricultural sector.
In addition, Nigeria is already experiencing deadly conflicts between herders and farmers. As population and land pressure grow, climate change could make these conflicts even worse and could support recruitment by terrorist groups. People whose livelihoods are failed because of drought, flooding, or other climate impact may be desperate enough to consider violence. The rise of Boko Haram is correlated with dwindling water resources in the Lake Chad Basin, which led to crop failure. Farmers subsequently abandoned their fields as they fled from the terrorist group. This is an example of how food insecurity, poverty, and violence can feed on one another in a reinforcing spiral. The world community has to undertake every possibility to give those farmers a chance to produce more of a better crop.
That is precisely why the Central Bank of Nigeria established NASL, to be able to provide guarantees to investors and financiers, banks and what have you, to be able for them to feel comfortable enough to put down the money behind any project along the value chain, whether it's upstream, midstream or downstream. Almost all actors along that value chain are eligible to access financing, but the banks, like you rightly said, require guarantees and comfort. So what happens is the NASL provides up to 75% guarantees for primary production where actual agriculture happens. For the other segments of the value chain, like processing, transport, and logistics, there are varying levels of guarantees we provide, as well as interest drawback. So under the NASL model, the farmers in groups and cooperatives really don't need traditional collateralization. Our guarantees are sufficient for them to get those fundings from the banks.
On its part, the federal government is working to increase insurance coverage for Nigerian agricultural primary producers from 500,000 to 3.8 million. They recently introduced index-based agricultural insurance. The Nigeria Incentive-Based Risk-Sharing System for Agricultural Lending is collaborating with the Royal Exchange Assurance and the Nigerian Meteorological Agency to develop a technology-driven hybrid index insurance product that will include the area yield index, weather index, and price index insurance.